Good evening. With us this evening we have Futurisk.
Hi.
Jeremy to my right, and Rich and Jack.
Hi.
That was really an outstanding performance. I can't believe that I really enjoyed that kind of music. Where did you guys get together?
Well, we've been formed mainly here in South Florida. These two gentlemen from the area itself. I'm originally from London, but I came over here to form a band of this sort and found better musicians over here than I could probably anywhere in the world. And that's how we formed.
Well, coming from England, I guess you must have had some of the influences, such as the Beatles, perhaps, and others, but not really. You're laughing, Jack. What?
I don't know.
I think he's more influenced by the Beatles than I was.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you would be probably... Do you remember the Beatles in England?
Yeah, I was very much into the Beatles, but I wouldn't say they've really... They might have affected some of my... John Lennon was a very big influence on my songwriting subjects, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you have a couple of records out, and I know our audience listening to your music this evening would like to see your latest record album, so if we can take a tight shot of Futurisk. I want to grab a nice tight close-up of this here. Is this your latest album?
Play a Piano EP, yes. It's 5 songs. It's a mini album.
Right. Okay.
You can get it in all the
Then we have another one over here, which is is this your newest album?
No, this is the first one.
This is the first
yeah.
album, and this, I presume, is available.
I mean, no, that's a 45.
Mm-hmm.
That's
okay.
Actually, that's no longer available.
But the first one that we just showed was.
Right.
Well, you have a very outstanding sound. Who writes your material?
Well,
do you all do, basically, Rich?
Yeah, we all... Jeremy writes most of it, but we do all contribute to it.
Mm-hmm.
in the arrangements, usually I come up with a basic idea, and then they help me with the arrangement. So Jack comes up with a drum part, which we take... Well, we don't want to give away our songwriting
right.
secrets or anything, but sometimes the electronics play a part in writing too, which is some of our message is there.
Well, a couple of years ago, I remember seeing a picture called Lipstick. I don't know if any of you fellas remember it, but they had a lot of that synthesizer type of music. Do you remember that at all? Anybody?
Yeah, I remember that film.
Yeah.
One of the best films for synthesizer work was Clockwork Orange, which we all...
Yes, sure, Clockwork Orange.
Wendy Carlos fans.
Uh-huh. Who are some of your influences? I'm sure, speaking for yourself, who would you say?
Anthony Newley.
Yes, he plays the synthesizer all day
he's good
long.
at that.
Uh-huh. How about you?
Oh, Kraftwerk mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the bands on Mute Records, I don't know if you'd be familiar with those.
Right.
Like Pat Gadget or Depeche Mode.
David Bowie.
Right. Jack, how about you?
I don't know. Everyone seems to have influences on their music in one way or another. But, you know, to really be, I can't get into idolizing anyone, or mentioning,
Well, somebody that you...
Just from, I'd say the 60s and 70s sound.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are your songs, some of your songs, all about? I mean, I'm sure it has a message, and I think for our audience out there watching, you want to describe...
Well, a lot of people cut us down for using sequencers in our music, which is programmable synthesizers, and it's not that we can't play the parts ourselves, because we can. It's just we're using, like, the medium as the message to convey a message. We're not like idolizing machines. We're sort of using them as their own witness to bring witness upon the fact that maybe one day musicians will be outdated, and
Right.
you won't even need us anymore.
Interesting theory, because we're going in a direction, I don't know if there is a direction in this kind of music. In other words, we have hard rock and roll, we have punk, and we have a variety of different sounds. Where do you see this type of music actually, going?
Ending, or?
Do you see that it's something that is going
I
to
don't
be
see ending, I
worthwhile?
see it just going full circle. As long as machines never compose the music, it'll be all right.
Then we're in trouble, folks, right?
It's just going to go on. I don't think it'll be outdated. It'll just continue like any other form of music.
Mm-hmm. Jack, what do you think?
Well, it's sort of different. You see, let's say, especially when we're playing live somewhere, and you see the machines, and it's all you hear is these machines, and the only real sound is like the human back there playing the drum.
Drums, right.
Yes. It's very interesting.
I think that's one thing that separates us from all the other electronic bands, is that we have an actual drummer.
Right.
And,
Rather than a rhythm box.
Yeah.
But we use that too.
Yeah, I play along with rhythm boxes. And,
How do you compare using synthesizers to other instruments?
Richie?
Rich?
Well, they're a lot more flexible.
Right.
You can, well, with guitar you're stuck with variations of one sound, but with the synthesizer, you know, the limit is your imagination.
The synthesizer is the highest and the lowest instrument known to man, and it can recreate any sound available on any other instrument as long as you're willing to try and get it, you know. But that's the ultimate, of course, is using both, everything together.
Yes.
You know, conventional instruments perhaps put through synthesizers, which is what we tend to do. Other people have done that, but we do it too.
Who is Clark Humphrey? I have a notation here on one of my...
I am.
He is.
We are. Yeah.
You're all Clark Humphrey.
Well, Clark Humphrey's a...
Will the real Clark Humphrey please stand up? Okay, never mind. Okay, just kidding, guys. Okay, what is
You
that
set
all
us
about?
up for that one.
Enter and sign in, please.
Well, it's really symbolic of the human element in the music. He's a fictitious character we've used to symbolize man versus machine, and that's why we all say we are, you know, because we are the humans. And as you heard with our music, there's a lot of machines there too. But we do control the machines; they don't control us.
It's certainly an interesting sound. And how recent is this music? In other words, is this something that basically has just started up in the last year or so, or?
A lot of people would give you that impression, but it's been around. Well, Kraftwerk have been around for years.
Right.
But
15 years?
about 10. But mainly, it's just recently that it's become noticed. It's become popular, and so we're tended to be lumped in with all the other, you know, sort of trendy bands.
Right.
But you know, we'd really like to set ourselves apart from them because they're just using synthesizers as you know, the new fad instrument.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your future aspirations, Jack? Let's go with you.
I use a lot of the electronic drums, and I'd like to use them a lot more as just, you know, in a way of musical instruments. The composition of, whereas it's all just electronic drums and, you know, very little synthesizer, even though it sounds like synthesizer. Synthesizer and electronic drums are mainly the same thing. Sometimes synthesizer can get the better sounds than the electronic drums can, like in the studio, places like that.
Is that what I just asked? I asked what were your future aspirations, Jack. I didn't mean to...
You want to use
just
more
be playing-
electronic
yeah, more
drums?
electronic
You
drums.
just use more electronic
And
drums.
record contract for Futurisk.
Right.
Oh, that's
And,
good. Let's hear it for Futurisk,
you know,
okay?
more live performances.
More live
I like
performance.
playing live. I think that's... I don't think I you know, could ever be satisfied with just playing in the studio and being at home all the time. I think that's where it's like those people, you know, giving them their noises, or menacing noises, you know, something that never stops, like, you know.
Well, folks, you heard it right here, right? Okay, Rich, how about you? What are some of your future aspirations?
Just
Doing another film with Clockwork Orange, perhaps? Or?
soundtracks. You know, if I could, I'd like to do that. But it's just doing more of what I do now, only better.
That's good. What about you, Jeremy?
Mainly just to get better at my songwriting and search for new subjects to write about is one of my things there. I like to...
You know, with this
Inspiration.
with this trend in music, do you think someday musicians will be obsolete?
I don't ever think they will be.
No, if we can help it.
You still think there'll be always a drummer and always a guy playing the keyboard? And
No, well, there already isn't. You know, there's already forms of disco where the song is actually composed by a computer, and all the drums are digital drums anyway. So, you know, that's it's very sterile sounding, though. We don't really like to go that direction. A lot of bands have gone that way.
Eventually,
Machines taking over.
Can you imagine that, going into a club and there's a robot taking care of all that music, which is possible. Programming of that nature is, I guess, somewhere down the line. Imagine going into a discotheque and there are no live people. It's just people, you know, just doing... Well, basically, I know you have more music in store for us, and I think we'll just have to stay tuned and listen to more exciting music of Futurisk.
Thank you very much.